Episode of Financiation, and we are going live. We are going live. Haha. So first off, I want to say thank you everyone for tuning in and everything. I also want to say thank you for listening to the channel, for subscribing and everything. If you're not familiar with my channel, on this channel, Financiation, I teach you how to make money, how to save money, how to invest money, and how to build generational wealth. And right now, everyone, if you are like you're living we are going through some interesting economic times. The price of eggs right now have literally skyrocketed. They are the most expensive they've ever been in my lifetime. The cost of gas, they believe, is going up. And on top of that, we keep getting hit with every now and then, pretty much once every 2 weeks, we keep getting the threat. At the time that I'm recording this, and the time we're going live with you, Donald Trump has called off the particular tariffs he was calling for Mexico and for China. I'm sorry, for Mexico and for Canada. But as it currently stands, they're saying that they're most likely going to go through anyway at the end of the next month. So there's a lot of different things going on. On top of that, if you listen to my channel and you follow my content, you are well aware of the fact that I am a huge proponent of index funds and ETFs that track the total stock market. And the reason why I'm a fan of that is because the stock market has produced more millionaires over the last 100 years than any other entity pretty much in the world. Sorry, kind of getting over something right now. And what I mean by that is this. If you take a look at the amount of millionaires that have been created since the 1920s via the stock market, it literally surpasses every other industry, whether it's people starting their own businesses, whether it's people working in corporate America, whether it's people becoming entrepreneurs. The stock market is the easiest and the simplest way to build essentially generational wealth and become a debt-free millionaire. And as a result of that, I am a huge proponent of telling people the benefits of investing into the stock market and essentially in using that to basically become a millionaire. And there are various different ways that I say that people should invest into it, whether it's they're tracking indices, whether it's they're doing following ETFs, exchange traded funds, whether it's buying total stock market index funds, whether it's them buying penny stocks. There's a couple of different ways I teach my clients, my customers, essentially, sorry, to build a generational wealth. And the stock market is a huge proponent of that. And a lot of the questions that people are asking right now is, okay, Chris, right now the stock market is not doing well. As of this week, it has literally dropped over 1,500 points since when President Joe Biden left office and since when Donald Trump entered office. So as a result, people are asking me, okay, Chris, should I invest into the stock market or should I not invest into the stock market? And that's kind of something we're going to talk about. I'm also going to talk about just different ways you can thrive, because right now, unfortunately, with Donald Trump's economy, everything does kind of seem to be tanking at the moment. But the good thing is this, everybody. The thing about the stock market is that the things that go down, they always eventually go back up. And the stock market is the only thing I've ever seen where when it's on sale, people run out of the store. Think about it. If you walk into a Louis Vuitton store and everything was 50% off, would you run into the store or would you run out of the store? The thing that's crazy about the stock market, it's the only entity that I can find that when everything is down, people sell all their goods and they start panicking and saying the sky is falling. When in reality, everybody, this is the time that you can make your money. Right now, based off of what I'm seeing, I think we're going to be literally looking at possibly a 2008 subprime mortgage meltdown kind of recession that could potentially be coming over the next 2-3 years. And while I know that may scare some of you, if you are a wise investor and you have a very well-stocked emergency fund, this literally could be one of those periods of your life where you can make millions of dollars and say, this is when it turned. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, okay? Because I want to teach you how to thrive, essentially, in Donald Trump's economy. And also, I'm going to go back to that point I made a little bit earlier. For whatever reason, when eggs are on sale, you buy eggs. When houses are on sale, you buy houses. Well, everybody, when stocks are on sale, you buy stocks. And right now, considering how bad the stock market is doing under the current administration, this is the time that you want to essentially buy your stocks. And this is not a left or a right versus thing. This is not a Democrat or Republican versus thing. I don't talk politics on my channel. I'm literally telling you, this is a time period where you can make unfathomable amounts of money if you know what you're doing, okay? Give me 1 second, everybody. One second. Cool. So The first thing I want to talk about tonight are tariffs. And the reason why I don't bring up tariffs in regards to you can't talk about currently how to thrive in this current administration over the next 4 years if you don't talk about tariffs. So, as its name implies, tariffs, everybody, are essentially a tax that essentially is slapped on an imported good. And that tax is eventually ultimately paid by the American consumer, you and me. So if you slap on $1,000 tariff on goods from Malaysia, India, China, and the UK, India, Malaysia, India, and China, they slapped a $1,000 tariff directly back onto us as the American consumer. And essentially, foreign countries don't pay the tariffs. You, me, and American corporations pay the tariffs. So I'll give you an example. Right now in corporate America, we're buying a couple $100 million worth of electrical equipment that originates in China. Because this equipment was purchased last year, it's completely exempt from Donald Trump's tariffs. Having said that, all equipment that we have bought from China ever since the inauguration has been slapped with a 20% tariff on. So as a result, the price of these electrical switchgears and switchboards that we're buying, as well as the electrical panels that are coming from overseas, primarily from Asia, China, and Malaysia, they're 25% more expensive. So as a result, it's jacking up the profit margins that we have for our company. And as a result of that, we are throwing the cost of those tariffs directly back onto our construction workers, as directly back into our developers in the form of higher costs. And those higher costs eventually get thrown back onto the people, the end user. And as a result, that end user is not very happy. Tariffs, everybody, are the exact same way. When Walmart, which is the largest retailer in the world, sorry about that, everybody, that also imports 70% of our goods essentially from other countries, when they basically get hit with tariffs, they are on record saying they're literally going to throw the cost of those tariffs directly back onto the American people. And it's the same thing with Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, and companies like that. Having said that, because we don't really necessarily have any say over what's going to happen with tariffs, my personal advice is, yes, let it make you mad, but at the end of the day, people, if you have no power over essentially what you're doing or how you can change it, there's no reason to get extremely pissed off about it. In fact, I'll say it to you like this. If we get hit with tariffs, yes, it sucks, but the best thing you can do, A, is to vote, and B, you have your emergency fund set up so that as you are setting up your emergency funds, you're basically gonna eat the cost. Yeah, I get it. Paying, I think we paid $11 for a carton of eggs yesterday. It's probably gonna go up to like $13 or $14 dollars. That essentially gets passed directly back down to the consumer, just like you just got done saying, Armando. All right, sorry about that, everybody. Technical difficulties, technical glitches. And because of that, the cost of those goods, the cost that literally gets thrown directly back on us as the American people. And like I was saying, the thing about finance, everyone, and it's kind of similar to life, is that worry about the things that are in your control and the things that are not in your control. I'm not saying don't get mad at it, but keep in mind, if you have no power to change it, try not to waste a lot of your free time and a lot of your energies trying to worrying about it, okay? Instead of worrying about it, figure out different ways that you can pivot to get around it. So if Walmart CEOs and Lowe's CEOs and Home Depot CEOs are directly saying, because of these incoming tariffs from the Trump administration, we're going to jack up the price of the goods that you buy, instead of letting it piss you off, my personal advice to everybody is to figure out a way around it. And by figuring out a way around it, it could be essentially you doing things like boosting up your emergency fund. That could be things like you basically cutting back on your spending. That could be things like, instead of you putting things on credit cards, figuring out ways to buy less and to use less, and to essentially invest the difference of the money that you make. In other words, everybody, you have to figure out ways to get around it. And by getting around it, it's going to allow you to essentially think clear as far as, okay, if this is going to actually hit me, this is what I'm going to do to change it. And that's what I want to talk to you tonight about, everybody, because I want to essentially teach you how to build unfathomable amounts of wealth in this current administration that we're going to be all living up on for the next 4 years. And more importantly, how to make millions of dollars because as I stated earlier, I truly do believe that America is literally on the precipice of another great recession. I'm talking about the 2008 type. And as I said earlier, I know that's going to scare some of you. I know for the people around my age, with those of us who graduated from college right around the time of the Great Recession, it was a very scary time period. But the good part about it right now, everyone, is that you can literally make so much money Unfortunately, I think a lot of people are probably about to lose their houses. If you don't believe me, take a look at, like, for instance, the Northern Virginia area where a lot of federal contractors are being fired because of the Doge, because of the Department of Government Efficiency, essentially being ran by Elon Musk. A lot of people are going to start losing their homes through foreclosure and things of that nature. So as a result of that, it's literally going to allow you to be able to buy real estate probably for pennies on the dollar. Another thing, because of the uncertainty and the times and everything that kind of go on with a lot of these inflationary tariffs and things like that, inflation is about to go up, and so are the cost of the everyday goods. So as a result of that, the stock market is probably going to continue to tank. As a result, as I said earlier, when eggs are on sale, when stocks are on, you buy eggs. When stocks are on sale, it's called a recession, and as a result of that, that is when you want to essentially purchase your S&P 500 stocks. That's essentially when you want to buy your indices for like data centers or gold. This is essentially when you want to get into the market, everybody. So don't look at recessions or even depressions, rather, as something to be feared. Look at them as an income generating time period in your life that comes around probably like once every 10 years that can allow you to make lots of, like I said, lots of money. And yes, there is a sympathetic level to me because a lot of people, I think, over the next 4 years are probably going to be negatively affected by this. But if you play your cards correctly, everybody, this is a time to make your money. So the first way to thrive in Donald Trump's economy, once again, everybody, is to play. Sorry. Sorry, I got a three. I'm sorry, guys. I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they cough all the time. So the first way to thrive in Donald Trump's economy, everybody, is to play the long game. So this is what I mean by this, okay? If you take a look at the history of the United States of America, typically what happens is you'll have about 8 years of a Democratic president, 8 years of a Republican president, 8 years of a Democratic president, 8 years of a Republican president. That's kind of typically been the way it's been. We went from Jimmy Carter to Ronald Reagan, from Ronald Reagan to Bush 1, to Bush 1 to Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton to George Bush number 2, George Bush to George Bush number 2 to Barack Obama, Barack Obama to Donald Trump, Donald Trump to Joe Biden, Joe Biden to Donald Trump. So as a result, literally every 4 to 8 years, typically every 8 years actually, rather, America goes from a Democrat to a Republican president. And while I do definitely push everyone to participate in their the right to vote, because at the end of the day, people literally die to give you that right. At the end of the day, everybody, politicians, they come and go, but the laws of compounding interest, they don't change. Historically speaking, everyone, people that invest into total stock market index funds on average about 11% return over the last 50 years. People that buy gold average about a 7% return over the last 50 years. And people that invest into actively managed mutual funds, the mutual fund manager, only average about 4.5%. And inflation has historically been about 3%. Under Joe Biden, it was about 2.7%. And right now, under Donald Trump, the last time I looked, it was about 3.4%. So as a result of that, as long as your investments are above inflation, and inflation is historically 3%, you are going to make money on your investments. So for instance, if you're putting your money into some brick and mortar Wells Fargo, Bank of America bank account that's only returning you a 0.01% interest rate, and inflation is 3%, that means you are losing 2.99% interest on every dollar bill that you have in your account. In essence, everyone, that means you are literally losing lots of money when your money is in a bank. Having said that, if you are investing into a high interest account that gives you basically 5% and the interest rate is only, and the inflation rate is 3%, that means every year you're making a 2% pay raise on your money. And if you're investing into, let's say, like a total stock market index fund on the S&P 500, which was returning about 22% last year under the previous administration, and inflation was only 3% last year, that means you're getting a 19% return on your investments. So what I mean by that, everybody, once again, presidential candidates and presidents and politicians, they come and they go. But if you have a long-term, long-game solution when it comes to investing your money, it almost to some extent does not matter who's sitting in the White House, because your house is going to be making a lot of money. And that's, everyone, why I say play the long game. Yes, you should get involved with your local politics. You should get involved with your national politics. And in my personal opinion, you should vote in every local, state, national, and regional election. But keep this in mind. If you are doing stupid, dotish things with your money, it don't matter whether you got a Republican in office or whether you got a Democrat in office. You are going to lose money. Presidents, they typically drive new policies. they appoint cabinet members. If you take a look at some of the individuals that Donald Trump is appointing right now, guys like RFK, it is having an interesting effect on the medical stocks because this is a guy who does not believe in vaccines. So as a result, the pharmaceutical industry right now is kind of up in the air and is terrified and is in shambles because we currently have an individual, RFK, who does not believe in who does not believe in vaccines. Additionally, we have other members of Donald Trump's cabinet who he also appointed who are kind of spooking the markets a little bit because of their stances on certain things, such as Russia, such as Putin, and things like that. So as a result, it's spooking the stock market, which is the reason why, as of yesterday, we literally lost over 900 points in the stock market, and we've basically lost over 1,500 points over the last week or so. Everybody, regardless of however what's going on, once again, as I said earlier, play the long game, okay? Don't jump in the stock market. Don't jump out of the stock market. Don't buy your stocks and then sell your stocks. Not only will you get hit with capital gains, you are also going to not only will you get hit with capital gains, you are also going to simply be trying to ride a wave and time the market. And people that do that typically lose millions of dollars over the course of their investing lifetime. So it brings me back to my point about the economy, everybody. Macro events such as worldwide pandemics such as COVID, such as the war in Ukraine, such as this potential ceasefire, which may or may not be going on, such as certain attacks across the world, across the globe in regards to firearms and freedom fighters and things of that nature, and geopolitical events. That's the kind of stuff that, and yes, tariffs as well. Those are the kind of things that directly affect the economy. So if you take a look at what's going on right now in the West Bank and Gaza, if you take a look at what's going on right now in Syria, if you take a look at what's going on right now in Russia, if you take a look at what's going on in the Ukraine and places like that, yes, those are directly spooking our markets and they are directly spooking other countries. And as a result, the international stock market as well as the U.S. stock market are being negatively affected by that. Having said that, whether there is a Republican or a Democrat in the White House, you once again have to take control of the things that are within your power. And it is very much within your power to buy stocks, whether the stock market is up or down. Because right now, with the stocks being low, once again, this is the time that you want to get into the market and you want to buy stocks. Why? Because a stock that typically costs $400 or $500 per share right now is basically about $40 a share. So now is the time, everybody, to buy it because everything is on sale. So the first way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy is to play the long game. Because like I said earlier, politicians, they come and go. There's going to be a Democrat down the line. There's going to be a Republican down the line. There's going to be another president at some point. There's going to be another vice president at some point. So regardless of who's in office, you have to make sure you are preparing yourself financially and professionally to take full advantage of all the laws that are going to be available for you and for your family, okay? Also, please, my Cash App is $CHRISP485. By all means, please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Please support your podcasters because we do this and we love giving you a lot of knowledge and a lot of things for free. And it helps our economy, my family's economy. So, yeah. So the next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy is to save more money and invest more money. So with this, I'm going to first start with the first portion, which is to save more money. So right now, a lot of people, particularly those who work in the federal government, are very spooked right now because Elon Musk is running around just firing a bunch of people. And I'm not going to get into the morality of that. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I'm just going to say it to you like this. Right now, his, I think it's called Department of Government Efficiency or DOGE or something like that, is literally going around sticking external hard drives into government mainframes, swiping them clean, and firing everybody. And if you're in the DMV area, if you're in the DC area, if you work for federal contractors and things of that nature, a lot of them are spooked because they're literally being fired. And because a typical American cannot afford a $1,000 emergency, that means their houses are probably going to foreclosure in about 3 months. So what that means is that if you are working for an entity where you are scared that the federal government being shrunk is going to negatively affect your family's bottom line, my personal advice is now is the time to save as much money as possible and to boost up your emergency fund. I'm talking about bare minimum a 6-month emergency fund. So if your expenses from your budget that you set up is about $5,000 a month, your 6 month emergency fund would be $30,000 a year. I'm sorry, $30,000 in your emergency fund. So what that means is that if your emergency fund is only like $5,000 or $10,000, that means you need to spend the next literally 4 to 5 months saving your refund checks, basically possibly working another job. You need to do everything you possibly can to boost up that emergency fund, because nothing is more terrifying than being fired from your job and then having no emergency fund to fall back on. At that point, that's when you start buying things on credit cards. You take the first bad job that you get, and it just literally sets you back for years on end. So right now, you want to essentially boost up your emergency fund. You want to make sure that you have enough money to go, I would say bare minimum, probably more like 9 months actually. But you want to boost up your emergency fund to the point where if you get fired or your boss lays you off, or you start hearing this thing about tax cuts and for the wealthy, so that they have to basically fire the middle class, you like, all right, cool, whatever. I'll just go out there, buy my time until a better opportunity presents itself. I'll also say this as well. If you are in a situation where you are possibly looking at being downsized or outsourced or just flat out fired, this is a phenomenal time, everybody, to truly boost up your skills. This is a good time to possibly get that PMP certification, to possibly get that PE license. This is that good time to possibly go back to school and get some certification so you can get a different skill set. I'm a firm believer that America, despite all the issues that it may or may not have, and despite all the issues that it does actually genuinely have, this is the greatest country in the world, everybody, when it comes to building wealth. So as a result of that, this is a phenomenal time, everyone, to create that e-product you've been putting off. If you, this is that phenomenal time, everybody, to learn that certification, to get a new certification, to essentially learn a trade. This is a good time, everyone, to boost your income making potential. And in America, we don't get paid on our feelings; we get paid on our value. So the more value that you can put into the world, the better off, and the better you are going to be. So this is a phenomenal time to thrive in Trump's economy, is by increasing your skill set and increasing your skills. A guy once explained to me like this: imagine it's like being a Native American chief, right? Every time you get a new certification, it's like putting another feather in your cap. It's like basically putting a bigger skill set into your tool bag. It's like learning a new. It's like putting another tool in your tool bag, and as a result of that, it's going to make you that much more valuable. So that's another way you can thrive in Donald Trump's economy. So right now, if the federal tax rate drops from 28% to 24%, which is what one of the things that Donald Trump is proposing, assuming you make over $350,000 a year, that means you're going to get more money in your wallet. And if you have more discretionary income, everybody, and money in your wallet, that means you have more money to invest into the stock market, or into gold, or into your business, or into whatever thing you think that you can make your money with. And that's why I say a great way to thrive in this current economy over the next 4 years, everybody, is to invest more of your money. Now, obviously, you should not be investing your money until you get to that point where your emergency fund is boosted up. So I do want you to hear me out on this one, okay? Do not, I repeat, do not start investing your money first if you don't got a fully stocked emergency fund, particularly in these crazy times we're heading into, because I do truly believe, and a lot of economists agree with this one, is that we are looking at possibly the worst recession since the 2008 subprime mortgage meltdown, and we're looking at possibly one of the worst economic 4 years, essentially, if things don't change. And while, yes, that does sound scary on the onset, the back end of that is this: generally speaking, wealthy people make the most money during a recession. That's just a fact of life. If you take a look at the 2008 crash, the people that did the best are the ones that had the most discretionary income to, unfortunately, take advantage of people losing their homes, people being fired, and people basically having their homes foreclosed. And while, yes, that is a horrible thing to happen, my personal advice is save your money, wait for a rainy day, and when that rainy day happens, it could put you and your family in a position to literally change the financial trajectory of your life. The Kennedys essentially started their wealth during the 1930s because they eventually realized that America at some point would come back, so they invested like crazy during the 1930s, when literally they were buying things for pennies on the dollar. And during the 2008 crash, a lot of people, I'll say this first, lost a lot of money. This was technically before my time. I was literally a college student. I was coming out of college when it happened. So for me, I was not able to take advantage of that. But a lot of people were. And those that were, it put them in a situation where they could literally make like I said earlier, unfathomable amounts of money. So the next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy, once again, everybody, is to save more money and to invest more money. And once again, as long as you qualify for the Donald Trump's proposed tax cuts, if he does indeed cut corporate taxes, if you qualify for that, that literally puts you in a position where you can start investing more of your money. Next, the next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy is to embrace what I like to call the three pillars. And those three pillars are the 401k, the Roth IRA, and your HSA accounts, okay? So, lower tax rates essentially and higher deductions are most likely going to stick around in 2025 and for the foreseeable future, as tax changes is something that we're going to eventually have to study once they come out. Full disclosure, based off of the research that I've done, typically speaking, most of Donald Trump's tax cuts are going to go to the upper wealthy. I'm talking about people making over $300,000 a year. And we're still kind of researching as far as what's coming out and what's going to happen with that. But full disclosure, whether you qualify for that tax cut or not, and for the record, if you do make over $300,000 a year, that literally puts you in the top 5% of Americans in the country. So you are an elite company if you're making that kind of money. But whether you're making that kind of money or not, everybody, you should try. Your goal should be to shoot for maxing out your three pillars. And those three pillars, as I stated earlier, are your 401k, your Roth IRA, and your HSA account. So in 2025, right, your 401k, the most you can invest in your 401k is approximately $23,500. At the time of this recording, at the time of this live session in 2025, the most you can max out with your Roth IRA if you're under 50 is $7,000. If you're over 50, it's $8,000. And with your HSA, if you're married, the most you can actually invest into is $8,500. So if you're investing $8,500, $23,500, and $7,000 every year over the next 4 years into a good total stock market index fund or into a good exchange traded fund or ETF over the next 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency, based off the laws of compounding interest, which have historically been matching the market, which is 10%, you would have roughly $240,000 4 years from today. Now, as I said earlier, everyone, I don't care whether you are a Democrat or whether you are a Republican. Your job as a man and as a woman, as a responsible adult, is to put yourself in the best possible situation, regardless of who's sitting in the White House. You have to focus on your house. And I can promise you this, if you are investing roughly $40,000 a year because you're proverbially driving a used car, you're proverbially living underneath your means, you're proverbially busting your butt in corporate or busting your butt in your business so that you have the money to do these types of things, at some point you are going to look up when everyone else is crying and screaming about the sky falling down. You are going to be in a situation where your kid's college fund is paid for, where your retirement funds are, so where your brokerage accounts are fully funded, and that way you can retire early, and also where your retirement accounts are good to go. So while you're living off of your brokerage account, you're essentially allowing your Roth IRA, your 401k, and your HSA to essentially completely continue to compound. That will put you literally in the top 5% of Americans, because you'll be able to retire early. Your brokerage account, you can live off of that, and then with your retirement accounts, they would just be stacking paper until you turn 59 and a half or 60. And that's the position, everybody, that I want you to put yourself in, because once again, we do not have control to a large extent over what policies that politicians, that presidential candidates, and that presidents put into place, but we do have control over our own finances. And that's essentially, everybody, what you need to focus on. Once again, if you want to send a Cash App, it's $CHRISP485, $ChrisP485, okay? And by all means, please fire away your questions, okay? Fire away your questions. Yep, fire away. So the next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy is to have, and I said this a little bit earlier, everyone, you have got to get your emergency fund up to snuff. Now, once again, I kind of come from a background more so where I hate seeing people essentially lose their houses. I don't like seeing people potentially struggle and suffer. And one of the things that I find helps people the most is when they realize that bad times are coming. and they plan accordingly. It's no different from knowing that you got a Category 5 hurricane coming your way, and then essentially buying up and stocking up on food, beans, rice, milk for what it's worth, water, and then being able to ride that thing out. You want to be in that camp. What you do, because you're fully prepared for a disaster that's heading your way. What you do not want to be is in a situation where you just kind of throw your hands up and say, oh, well, whatever happens, it happens. And then when a Category 5 hurricane does hit, you ain't got no food, you ain't got no water, and basically out in the streets begging people to help you. You don't want to be in that situation. And right now, as I said earlier, given what's kind of going on, 1,500 points being lost, we have a president that says basically is not as concerned the stock market is tanking. That to me is telling me that you need to make sure that you are as prepared as possible. And the best way to get prepared as possible during an upcoming financial calamity that I do truly believe is coming is to once again have that fully stocked emergency fund. 6 to 9 months, everybody. 6 to 9 months. People often ask me, Chris, should I invest my money or should I get the emergency fund? I'm telling you right now, you need to do both. And what I mean by both is this. Always invest up to your employer's 401k match. But if you're still getting your emergency fund up to snuff, by up to snuff, I mean 9 months right now, which considers what's going on with this current economy and everything. That means you need to invest with the 401k match as a minimum. And then after that, put all your money and all the things you're saving towards your emergency fund. It's probably going to take you about 6 months to get to that point. But once you get to that point and you have a fully stocked emergency fund, I want you to go ham on investing. But it has to be that emergency fund, everybody. And don't cheat this either. Yeah, it's very sexy. It's very fun to invest into the ETFs and to the cryptos and the real estate. Everybody likes buying their stocks. It's very fun clicking that mouse and basically day trading is very fun. And by the way, I think no one should day trade. I'll just say that right now. But that kind of stuff is fun. It's literally an adrenaline high and an adrenaline rush that people do. But it's not intelligent. It's much smarter, everyone, to get your emergency fund fully functional and then start to invest. That's after you get the emergency up to snuff. That's when you go into the Charles Schwabs. That's when you go into the Fidelities. That's when you go into the Vanguards. That's when you start to invest your money. But prior to that, you want to make sure that your emergency fund is where it should be. Another interesting thing too that I find about it is that particularly if you're a single person, a 6-month emergency fund probably is good enough, just because you don't have any other human beings. You have no baby, no wife to support, no husband to support, no kids to support. So as a result of that, if you are a single man or woman, a 6-month emergency fund during these economic times is probably good enough. But if you are married and if you are a single income household, you might want to get that emergency fund closer to 9 to 12 months. And I say that because you want to make sure that in the event, like I said, ish does hit the fan, you want to put yourself in a situation where you can wait for the right job or the right opportunity. You don't take the first thing that comes your way. You don't take the first scraps that comes your way. It's kind of like being that guy. You don't want to be that guy that talks to the first girl that shows you interest. You want to basically pick and choose who's going to come into your life and pick and choose who deserves you, okay? And having an emergency fund kind of gives you the same thing. It gives you options. It gives you options. Next. The next way to thrive financially in Trump's economy in these tough economic times that we're heading into is to only purchase, and I do mean, and I understand everybody where this is coming from because I did not live this life when I was a single guy, but only purchase used cars and or buy a hybrid. And by hybrid, yes, I'm saying, yeah, don't buy a Tesla. I understand that. The reason why I say that is this. First and foremost, in regards to the Tesla thing, Teslas right now are significantly more expensive than other similar type vehicles that are hybrids. So as it means that are a comparable vehicle that's a hybrid, not fully electric. So if you are going to purchase a vehicle, once again, buy a used vehicle. And I say that for a very simple reason. If you take a look at the price of cars right now, all of them are going up. Some of that is just the market's kind of deciding that, and some of that is these tariffs that are being proposed from other countries. They're literally slapping the cost of the steel that's being getting an American tariff on it back into us as American consumers. When we buy that particular car, is the price of it skyrockets. So as a result of that, this is a good example of essentially how of how these proposed tariffs are not only wrecking the economy as far as the stock market, they're also hurting your bottom line. But in the event you do need to buy a car, if you buy a new car, it is essentially, everybody, like rolling down your window every weekend, every Friday night, and just letting a $100 bill just go right out of the window. Because when you purchase that new car, you're purchasing everything. You're purchasing inflation for it. Basically paying for the markup fees, paying for the dealer fees and all of that. When you buy a used car, you don't pay for any of that stuff. So my personal advice is never buy a car that has more. Never buy a new car, and if you do buy a used car, just buy one that has under 20,000 miles on, or it's less than 4 years old. Problem solved. Yeah, you don't get that new car smell, and you don't get to be the first person to ever drive. But you know what? Who cares? At the end of the day, it's saving you money. So as I said, firstly, never buy a new car. Now, just so you know, the reason why I mentioned the hybrids is for a very simple reason. Right now, there is once again Donald Trump is pushing tariffs on Mexico. Then he pulls them back. He's pushing tariffs on Canada. Then he pulls them back. This is spooking the markets. And right now, there's a 25% tariff on China, which is going to eventually ultimately get thrown back on us as the American consumer. Once again, if you listen to me early in this live session, I told you that in my particular company, a lot of the electrical equipment that we basically purchased a year and a half ago, it costs a certain amount. And because we basically locked in that price, we're good to go. But the other equipment, the stuff that we bought after the inauguration, because of the tariffs that went on China, they're basically jacking it up 25% because that tariff, and they're going to throw their cost directly back into my team, my company. So as a result of that, our prices are going to go up. And as our prices are going to go up, we're going to basically charge the end user, which is a developer in the federal government, basically to use the equipment that we're going to sell them. So it's just macroeconomics, everybody. And with tariffs, 10% of American gas comes from the Middle East. 25% of America's gas comes from Europe. 10% comes from Mexico, and 60% comes from Canada. So let's just break this out a little bit. Literally 60% of our gas comes from Canada and 10% comes from Mexico. That means 70% of our gasoline, everybody, comes from a country to the north of us that Donald Trump is threatening with tariffs, and a country to the south of us that Donald Trump is threatening with tariffs. So as a result, if these companies and these countries are already saying they're just going to take that tariff and throw it directly back into the American people, what do you think the price of gas is going to be in around Thanksgiving of this year if our two main trade partners, which is Mexico and Canada, are literally being threatened with tariffs, and they're probably going to go through? I'll answer the question for you, everybody. The cost of gas is about to go up. So on top of that, steel. The steel that America uses, we import a lot of it from Asia and from Europe. So if they get hit with that tariff, what do you think the price of steel is going to do? It's going to go up. So what happens? So what are the two main components of cars? Gasoline and steel. So as a result of that, that means the price of our cars are going to absolutely go up, and the price of our gas is going to go up. That's the reason why I said you want to make sure that whatever you are purchasing, that when you are purchasing your vehicle, you want to figure out ways to cut the cost of that vehicle as much as humanly possible. And buying a used car, in the event you have to buy a car, is a very easy way to do that. So, as I said earlier, make sure during these tough economic times you are not buying a new car. Buy a used one, okay? It's as simple as that. For the record, Canada's new PM, the one that replaced Justin Trudeau, he is literally on the record saying he is going to surgically hit America with tariffs. What I'm hearing is that based off the tariffs that Donald Trump is trying to hit us with, based off what I'm hearing, he's going to target the Ohio's, the Michigans, the Pennsylvanias, the New York states, and the Wisconsins of the world. He's going to strategically target certain American states just so they feel the full wrath of this. Now, I don't know where this is going, but what I do know is this: the stuff that's in your control, as such as in buying a used car versus a new car, if you have to buy a car, the stuff that's in your control, such as having a fully stocked emergency fund, the stuff that's in your control, saving as much of your money until you get to that fully stocked emergency fund, and then investing like crazy into the stock market. That's the stuff that you focus on. All this political stuff, all the back and forth between Trump and Mexico and Trump and Canada and Trump and Zelensky. At the end of the day, yes, vote, but once again, just keep in mind, we can't control the outburst of the 47th president. What we can control, though, is what's going on between our ears, between our brain, inside of our brain, and what's going on with our paychecks and our wallet. That's what you focus on, everybody. And by doing that, you're good to go. Additionally, also, this fentanyl thing that's kind of going on, I was trying to see just different ways that financially you can use that to get ahead of the game. Full disclosure, if you are using fentanyl and you're listening to this podcast live session, please get off of that drug. It kills. Like, I'm serious. What's interesting is that one of the things that the current administration is doing is that they're saying that Canada is bringing fentanyl into this country, and there is no credible FBI threat about that. From what I'm seeing from my police officer friends and from the research that I've done, 99% of the fentanyl that America use is being produced right here in the good old US of A. What kind of effects does that have essentially on your wallet? Well, first and foremost, I hope you are not using that crap. But secondly, it's spooking the markets because Donald Trump is using this fentanyl thing as a reason to essentially, as they used to say back in the day, rattle the saber to our closest ally north of us. And as a result, our closest ally north of us, which is Canada, is also rattling the saber back and is spooking the markets. So, as I said multiple times so far in this live session, when the markets get spooked, that's when you hit recessions. And when you hit recessions, everybody, that's when stocks are on sale. So buy your stocks. This is not the time, everyone, to get chicken feet. This is not the time to get scared and start pulling all your money, all your assets out of the market and just hope for the best. No, this is when you basically want to buckle down and you want to get serious about your investments. You want to invest as much as you can right now into the stock market, because by doing that, when the stock market comes back, you literally would have paid pennies on the dollar for extremely lucrative stocks. And that's essentially what you should be doing, okay? So, once again, if you do have to purchase a vehicle over the next 4 years, and there is a very good possibility you're going to have to do that. If your car is over 7 years old, it's probably getting to that point where it may be time to get another one. It's no longer riding good. But the next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy, everybody, is to purchase a used car and not a new vehicle. And it would not be a bad idea to get a hybrid, because I think that given what's kind of going on right now with Tesla and how it's literally lost like 70% market share in Europe, it's lost 35% market share in the United States. I kind of wonder what Tesla's where it's going to be in about 3 years. I personally believe there's a possibility that they're going to somehow figure out a way to tell Elon Musk to kind of step aside. Well, he's still getting paid, but he's no longer like the spokesperson for the company. They'll probably hire another CEO and then make that individual the face of the company. But it's interesting to see what's going to happen with Tesla, because right now, I mean, people in Germany are burning the Tesla vehicles. They're setting the charging stations on fire. Canada's about to hit Tesla with a 200% tariff to try to get them out of the country. Mr. Slim, the richest man, basically Elon Musk of Mexico, he bought up all the Starlink contracts and kicked Elon Musk out of his country. So I'm curious what's going to happen essentially with the Tesla brand over the next couple of years, because it's pretty much in the toilet. And we'll see what's going to happen. When I was in grad school, we used to do case studies on this kind of thing where guys were literally sitting on top of the world with their company, their business, with their stocks. But they got a little arrogant. They started talking crazy to the wrong countries and to the wrong economic powers. And as a result, they're no longer around. If you don't believe me, take a look at any Fortune 500 company from the 1970s. 95% of them are no longer here. And the ones that are here, they're nowhere close to being a Fortune 500 company just about anymore. So every penny that you have, once again, if you have to buy a new vehicle, don't buy a used vehicle. Okay, over the next 4 years. Some water. Well, all means everybody keep the questions coming. Okay. Chris, I'm worried over the next 4 years. What financially should I be doing? Well, kind of the same things I've been talking about. First and foremost, focus on what you can. Thank you for the question, by the way. Focus on what you can actually control, and put your energy into that. And don't focus on the garbage that you can't control. You can't control people talking crap about you. You can't control essentially what the market. You can't control what the stock market is doing. What you can control is your spending. What you can control is figuring out how to cut back. What you can control is figuring out the industry that you work in, how to make more money in the industry. And that's what you have to focus on, everybody. Yeah, the left versus right thing, I personally believe you should vote in every election. I'm going to say that literally to the day I die. But to some extent, you can't you can't control essentially what a politician is going to do. But you can control what you do with your own money. That's my advice, okay? And that's what I want you to put your energy and your focus on. And once again, if the economy does tank and we do go into a 2008 type of Great Recession, as I said earlier, everybody, a lot of people made a lot of money over that 4-year period. I'm sorry, in 2008, when unfortunately a lot of people lost their homes and mortgage and the foreclosures were skyrocketing everywhere. So you have to try to focus on the things that you can control, okay? So the next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy over the next 4 years is to stay invested into the market. If you take anything from what I'm saying about this, everybody, is this: do not sell all of your shares and pretty much liquidate your assets because you are because the economic sky is falling. Okay, the market originally went up when Donald Trump was elected, and as of this week, it has went down over 1,500 points. Basically, the fastest drop off in over 13 years, and we have no idea, essentially, everyone, how low this thing is going to go. Just like we also don't know how it's going to affect the economy when 15 to 30 million people get deported, which is essentially the numbers that the current administration is shooting for. We don't know how it's going to affect the economy. I have my own personal idea. I think the farming market is about to be in for a doozy. I also think the price of our food is about to get significantly more expensive. But we can't control that, everybody. What we can control, however, is staying invested into the market. So if you're struggling right now, essentially, to figure out, okay, what should I do? All right, I don't know. Should I invest my money? Should I boost up my emergency fund? Should I get into crypto? Should I get into forex? Chris, what should I do? Sorry about that. It's simple, everyone. Do exactly what you should have been doing all along, which is cutting your spending, saving as much money as you can to boost up your emergency fund, and then investing as much money as you possibly can, and stay invested into the market. I've always found it very strange that the stock market is once again the only thing that people run out of the store when it says everything's on sale. If you were in a Louis Vuitton store or a Timberland store or a Jordan store or a cowboy boot store or whatever it is that you're into, or you were in a car dealership and they said everything is 50% off, you would be literally running as fast as you possibly could into that store because you could buy everything's on sale. Well, everyone, that is what a recession and a depression are. When the economy goes into a recession or the economy goes into a depression, that is when stocks are on sale. And just like you should buy your eggs, your boots, your cars, and your clothes when they're on sale, you want to buy your stocks as well when they're on sale. And stocks are on sale once again during a recession. One second, everybody. So, as I said earlier, keep investing your money because if the economy does well, then guess what? It's perfect. You're going to continue to see your stocks, your portfolio rise. If the economy does bad, don't worry about it. Why? Because eventually, at some point, it's going to bounce back. If it bounced back from the Great Depression, if it bounced back from 2008 Great Recession, it's going to bounce back now, okay? So, in general, everyone, stay invested into the market. As I said earlier, I was a little too young to take any kind of financial kickbacks in the 2008 crisis, just because once again I was literally just coming out of college. But for this one that's coming up now, and I do truly believe we are probably heading into a recession, this is the time period where you once again want to make sure that your financial house is in order. Because I'm telling you, you're going to be seeing $700,000 homes being sold for $400,000. You're going to be seeing people essentially liquidating their assets because they unfortunately can't make ends meet. And yes, it's very sad, and my heart goes out to people that are doing that. But this is also the time where if you are in a position to take advantage of those opportunities, take advantage of those opportunities. And once again, if you're not happy with the current state of the country, cool, perfect. The best thing you can do outside of bettering yourself and putting your family in the best possible situation is to vote. So it's as simple as that, people. It's as simple as that. So the next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy, and with all these crazy economic uncertainty times that we live in, is to not sell your stocks and to play the long game. Stay invested. So the next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy is to ensure that you have health care. Now, this is an interesting one because the healthcare battle has been fought for, I don't know, what is it, 13 years? 17 years now? Or, you call it the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it. So, at the time of this live session, President-elect Donald Trump has promised to basically repeal the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare. And if he does this, roughly 55 to 60 million with the M people are going to lose their health insurance. Now, I'm not going to get into the particulars of the political stuff about that. There's not. I don't really run a political channel. I'm also not going to get into the morality of it because I think kind of kicking 60 million people off their health care, so they have to basically run to the doctors, to the emergency room to get medical care. I don't think that's a good idea either. But who am I? At the end of the day, I'm not. I don't run that kind of podcast where I talk that kind of stuff. What I do run, however, is a financial podcast. And if 50% of the people who are currently enrolled into Obamacare are in red states and voted for Donald Trump, that means at the time of this recording, I haven't seen nothing, no legitimate plans from the Republican Party basically saying how they're going to replace Obamacare. That means there's a serious possibility that you are going to lose your health care. And when asked about it for full disclosure, when Donald Trump was asked about this in the 2024 presidential debate, Trump famously stated he had concepts of a plan, but he had no plan to essentially replace Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. So what that's telling me is this: if you are an entrepreneur, you just got fired from your job, or you're in a situation where you're thinking about leaving corporate America, but corporate America is where you get your medical insurance through, make sure all of your healthcare ducks are in a row. Now, I am 100% for entrepreneurs basically leaving corporate America and starting their own business and running full time. But I will also say this: if you have a family and you have no ways essentially to provide for them from a healthcare perspective about why you work in corporate, unless you are making a significantly major amount of money, a significantly large amount of money, it may not be a bad idea to stick around in corporate just for the healthcare benefits alone. I actually have worked with guys that have done that, where the only reason why they stuck around corporate was A, they were very good at their job, but B, it allowed them to affordably get their health care. Now, there are other different things you can do. There's Cobra, there's other different methods you can do. You hop on your spouse's medical care and health insurance. There's different things you can do essentially to put yourself in a situation so in the event you are covered with your health care. But make no mistake about it, everybody. I went through this multiple times. If 60 million people instantly get kicked off of their healthcare, and there's no alternative for those individuals to basically get healthcare, that means what's going to happen is when they blow out a limb, when they blow out an ACL, when they need rotator cuff surgery, when they need a root canal performed, they're just going to run straight to the emergency room. And when they run straight to the emergency room and they get treated, the emergency room is going to basically throw those costs of those procedures, those 10 and 15 and 25 and $30,000 procedures directly back into those of us who do have health care. So as a result, make sure you have a plan and a system in place to obtain health care in the unfortunate but to some extent likely event you get fired if you work for certain entities such as the federal government and things of that nature. So make sure, everyone, that your healthcare house is in order. Now, in 2023, President Joe Biden implemented the Inflation Reduction Act, and one aspect of that was that it enhanced essentially the premium subsidies of the Affordable Care Act. Well, these enhanced subsidies, everybody, they reduce the premium cost to our health insurance, and they also make it more affordable. You've probably heard the $10 and the $35 insulin, which has shot up significantly. That was a primary benefactor of that policy. So these, however, are set to expire in 2025. And if they are not extended by President Donald Trump, then health insurance premiums for a lot of us are going to simply go through the roof. So you are possibly looking at a situation where eggs are historically at their highest, which is our food. Gasoline is historically at its highest, which is obviously our automobiles and how we get to and from work and live our lives. And 3, our healthcare insurance may be the highest it's ever been in American recorded history. So imagine that. Just imagine that with me for a second. That gas costs more than it ever has. Food/eggs cost more than it ever has. Housing costs more than it ever has. And also your healthcare costs more than it ever has. It doesn't seem like a very positive picture, does it? And which is the reason why I say, to me, unless the things change with this current administration, that's essentially what we're heading towards, which is another recession, another great recession, such as 2008. And so you have to plan your life accordingly to make sure that you're good to go, and B, you can take advantage of every opportunity that presents itself, okay? Next. The details, also full disclosure, the details, however, are still in the works. Like I said, President Trump has been on the record saying he's essentially going to repeal Obamacare, then he's not going to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and it's still kind of up in the air. At the time of this live session, there is no plan that's definite in place as far as how he plans on to replace it. But I'm fairly certain that the Affordable Care Act in its present state is probably going to go the way of the dinosaur. So as a result of that, if you are part of the 60 million people that are on your parents' health insurance, or you work for a company that gets health premiums through Obamacare, or you're an entrepreneur and you get your health care through the Affordable Care Act, if you are in any of those situations, there's a good possibility you're going to lose your health care, people. So as a result, plan accordingly. Get on your spouse's health care. Get COBRA. It's not a good situation, but you have to plan accordingly. Once again, if you see that Category 5 hurricane coming towards you, you got to figure out how to survive it and how to get around it, okay? Next. The next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy is to budget your money. Now, I talked about this to some extent a little earlier when I talked about the need for you to invest the money to have that 3 to 6 month emergency fund, and also to invest as much money as possible. And it's impossible everybody to essentially invest as much money as possible if you don't know how much money you have going out, how much money you have coming in. And this is where that budget comes into play. So if you book a one-on-one session with me, everyone, the first thing that we do, literally the first thing I do with you is I say, okay, cool, we're going to go through a budget. We're going to create a budget. And if you say you already have a budget, I want to review it and then basically see essentially what you're doing with the money that you make, because that's essentially what happens. A lot of times people have an idea about what they make, but they have no idea about what they're spending. And then we actually systematically break down, okay, you're spending too much money here, you're spending too much money here, okay, this is a frivolous waste. They start to realize why they have at the end of the month, they have more month than they have money. And a budget helps you do that. You should literally know down to the dollar how much money you were spending on the things that you like to do. Whether it's you going to the gym and lifting weights, whether it's you playing ball and hooping, whether it's you kicking it, being a weekend warrior and getting trashed every weekend at a bar. Whatever it is, you need to know exactly how much money you have going out, how much money you have coming in. That way you can budget your money accordingly. Once again, if you listen to this podcast, this live session, my Cash App is $CHRISP485. Once again, $CHRISP485. So have that budget, everybody, because a budget, a lot of times people look at it as like a guardrail that's boring, and it keeps you essentially keep you impoverished and just, basically just take all the fun out of your life. And whereas in reality, everybody, budgets are essentially more sort of like guardrails to keep you from driving your car off of a cliff. They give you a window as far as how much money you're spending, how much money you're wasting. But I like to say they also give you a guardrail and a window to how much money you can start investing. And that is where your money is going to be. Okay? Next. The next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy, everybody. Next. The next way to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy, everybody, is to avoid crypto. And beware of the shiny new objects that come with that. So, without really getting political with it, I'll say it to you like this. Donald Trump's crypto meme coin lost over $1 billion the first week it was around. His wife's cryptocurrency, Smilania, which is an interesting name, lost over $8 billion with a B dollars in with his employer's assets, and because of that, everyone, it's right now the new shiny kid on the block. My personal advice is when it comes to an investing platform, avoid anything that's shiny and is new, because at the end of the day, generally speaking, the best way you can build your wealth is to invest into and embrace the boring. Embrace investing into the S&P 500. Embrace investing into the total stock market index funds. Embrace investing into international real estate investment trusts. Embrace investing into the boring exchange traded or ETF funds that track the total stock market. Why? Because the shiny new object that I keep hearing a lot about I keep hearing from Elon Musk and Donald Trump is how America's going to become the crypto capital of the world. How they're going to deregulate the industry to the point where we're going to be the crypto capital of the world. And if you take a look at anything that gets deregulated, once again, I'm an engineer. Anything that you deregulate, what that really means is that you're taking away the code references that protect the human beings who actually use it. So by deregulating the crypto industry, what that's going to probably do is make it that much easier for them to steal your identity. And as a result of that, as I said earlier, avoid the shiny new objects, okay? stay to the tried and true things of real estate. Stay to the tried and true things of starting a business. Stay to the tried and true things of investing into total stock market index funds. So my advice to everybody is simple. Avoid this temptation at all costs. Crypto, it's so interesting how it just divides the market, but for one, how it divides the financial industry. But in general, everybody, it's extremely volatile. It's not backed by an economy or by any tangible assets. And secondly, it is completely rife with individuals that have already been convicted for stealing your identities. People like Sam Bankman-Fried, Ruja Ignatova, names like that. People that have literally stole over $1 billion with the B dollars from their investors' portfolios. That's the kind of stuff that that's currently being pushed right now to the American people about this crypto capital of the world. And my advice is I'm just not buying it. So if President Donald Trump does indeed lower regulations, and if he does in fact make crypto exchanges that much easier for anybody to kind of get in, my advice is very simple: be very careful. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about in regards to how to thrive financially in Donald Trump's economy, everybody, is to be as diverse as humanly possible. Okay. And by diverse, I mean the best way to mitigate risk in the long term is that you have your money invested into as many different and diverse industries as possible. And the safer your investments are essentially having them into the total stock market index funds. So, for example, right, as I said earlier, Canada and the United States are now kind of beefing a little bit, and Mexico and Canada and the United States are beefing right now as well with these tariffs and everything. And as I have said, if Donald Trump imposes these tariffs on the American consumers, which is i.e. a national sales tax, by basically putting a tariff on Canada and Mexico once again is going to slap the cost of those tariffs directly back onto the American people. And if Trump imposes a 60% tariff on China, China once again is just going to put a 60% tariff directly back into the American people. One of the best ways, however, to mitigate the risks that are within our power and within our control is to invest into markets that track the entire stock market. And the reason why is because of the 4,000 stocks that you buy, a good 4% of them are going to be quote-unquote winners. They're going to make you a lot of money, and the other 96%, their costs are going to be outweighed, and their cons are going to be essentially outweighed and obliterated by the 4% that are doing extremely well. Case in point. So last year, I was investing into the S&P 500, and I was getting over 23% returns for my investments. And the reason why was because the S&P 500 are the 500 best stocks in the U.S. stock market. So my investments were very diverse because I wasn't investing into one stock, I was investing into 500. Additionally, because I kept it for the long haul, I was paying no capital gains taxes, and my expense ratios were very low. That's just a classic example. And this does not include the total stock market index funds I was buying through Fidelity and through Charles Schwab. So in order to thrive in Donald Trump's economy, everybody, you want to be as diverse as humanly possible. And you also want to avoid the shiny new objects. So avoid things like Forex. Avoid things like crypto. Avoid things like penny stocks. Embrace the boring. And those boring, once again, are exchange traded funds, the S&P 500, and total stock market index funds. Okay? All right, everybody. So that's getting a little late. I just want to once again thank you guys for signing in with me. Once again, this is Financipation. I teach you how to make money, how to save money, how to invest money, how to build generational wealth. Additionally, I also like the idea of essentially kind of just walking you guys through different ways to just kind of, I would say, just thrive and to not just survive in any economic form, because right now a lot of people are scared. I don't run the type of YouTube channel where I push fear, and I also don't run the type of YouTube channel where I try to openly pick a political party over another. I run the type of YouTube channel where I want to teach you essentially how to build wealth in any climate, under any administration. And a lot of you guys immediately are scared about what's kind of going on. And as a result of that, I just want to tell you that focus once again on things that I talked about tonight in this live session. And if you ever do get scared, literally start kind of coming back, listen to this podcast, listen to this live session, listen to my other podcasts, and I'm going to literally teach you how to become a millionaire. So don't let the things that you can't control scare you. Yes, vote. Yes, definitely participate in the political process. But the things that are within your control, that is what I want you to focus on, okay? And that's what I want you to think about. So yeah, everybody, let me see. Any other questions? Let's see. Cool. All right, it's your boy Chris. I'm out. Please like, please comment, please share, please subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on X. You can follow me on Blue Sky. You can follow me, Financipation. On TikTok, you can follow me on Instagram as well. So, and check out my Facebook tribe as well. So, everybody, it's your boy Chris. I'm out. Peace. Thanks for signing in. Peace. Peace.